it's time. We ask that you stand. And gentlemen, remove your hats as we pay honor to America. The playing of our singing and national anthem. Something about our national anthem, that's what I'm trying to say. Go ahead, man. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you, Houghton. And now let's get the starting lineups for our teams. First up, for the McBain Ramblers, number 2, Chelsea Eisenbach. Number 3, Brecken Gildy. Number 5, Peyton Grant. Number 12, Caitlin Cripp. And number 23, Isabel Roosevelt. And for our starter Bobcats, number 1, Melanie Meringer. Number 3, Abby Tooker. Number 5, Mariah Thompson. Number 24, Lizzie Simpson. Number 32, Gwen Rhodes. The coach for the Ramblers is Carl Dottie. The coach for the Bobcats is Quentin Thompson. Your officials for tonight's game are Shane Petrie, Chris Gibson, and Stephen Faust. These officials are registered with the Michigan High School Athletic Association and, like the coaches, are here to help the athletes learn in the playing field. We request that you respect their honest efforts in administering this contest.
All right. Welcome back to McBain basketball here. We are at the varsity girls game here with the Ramblers of McBain against the Houghton Lake Bobcats. On the jump, Meringer back to Tooker. Tooker over to Thompson. Throws it over to Meringer. Crick and Grant there. Grant passing the halfway over to Roosevelt. Roosevelt over to Eisinga. Eisinga over to Grant. Grant circling the key there. Over to Crick. To Gildy. And Grant. To Eisinga. Into Roosevelt, who goes for 2. No good. Goes back up for 2, and it's no good. Tooker with the take. Over to Thompson. Over to Rose, who got it back to Simpson, who went for 2, and it was good. Grant into Eisinga, who passes it back over to Grant. Back to Eisinga. Knocked out of her hands by number 5, Thompson. Got Grant over to Crick. To Gildy. Gildy over to Grant. Grant to Chelsea Eisinga. Travel Thompson into Tooker. Over to Rose. Rose running in for a 2, but it's no good. Roosevelt on the take, over to Grant. Grant over to Crick, who shoots for 3. It's no good, off the back of the rim. Neither team able to retrieve the ball on this wild ride away from the rim. Last touched by a Rambler, meaning that it goes to the Bobcats, where Thompson passes it into Tooker. Tooker passing the half. Over to Henson.
Rambler foul number 2, her first, team first.
Simpson up for 2. First one's no good off the right side of the rim there. Second one's good, right down the net. Eisinger to Grant. Grant passing it halfway and then passing it over to Crick. Passes it into Roosevelt, back to Grant. Goes for 3, but it's no good off the left side of the backboard. Retrieved by Muringer over to Thompson. Thompson passing halfway. Tried to get passed into number 32, Rose, but was intercepted there by Gildy. Grant to Eisinger, who went for 3, but it was no good. Thompson. Pass over to Tooker. Pass was no good, though. Eisinger came in for the steal, but knocked it right out of bounds. Tooker over to Thompson. Thompson over to Rose. Stolen by Gildy. Back to Grant. Grant to Eisinger. Eisinger for 3. Ball getting trapped between the rim and the board.
Foul number 32, her first, team first.
Eisinger going for 2. First one's no good off the front lip of the rim. Second one also no good. Appears there was a rush from the Bobcats, giving Eisinger another go. Right on the front lip of the rim there, and it was no good. From Muringer over to Thompson. Muringer over to Tooker. Thompson over to Tooker. Went to Muringer. Back to Thompson. Over to Rose, who goes for 3, but it's no good. Taken by Grant. Passing the halfway. Grant going for 3. All net, all day. Rose into Tooker, who passes it over to Thompson. Thompson's pass gets intercepted by Grant, who tries passing it to Eisinger. Who gets knocked away by Tooker. Muringer on the take. Roosevelt with a steal, though. Over to Grant, who shot for 3, but it's no good. Dean going for a 2, but it was no good. Roosevelt. Roosevelt up for 2, but it was good. Thompson passing halfway. Over to Rose. Some Rambler defense knocking the ball out of bounds there. Thompson into Meringer, goes for 2. Rambler defense. Grant up to Crick, who goes for 2, and it's solid.
Basket is good by number 12, Caitlin Crick. Bobcat foul number 3, her first team second.
Crick going for 2. Hauserman out for Meringer. And it's good. Thompson over to Tooker, back to Thompson, passing the halfway. Thompson over to Simpson, back to Thompson, over to Tooker, back to Rose. Being defended by Gildy. Thompson over to Hausman. Hausman getting defended by Roosevelt. Hausman passing it back to Simpson, but intercepted by Grant. All the way to the 3. Over to Crick, to Roosevelt. Back to Grant, who shoots for 3. All night, all day, off the front of the rim. 3 was good. Thompson over to Tooker, who passed it back to Thompson. Thompson over to Hausman, who shoots for 2. No good. Backboard to rim and then over to the right. Gildy and Simpson fight for the ball. Gildy with a successful fight. Grant and Crick past the halfway. Grant to Roosevelt. Bounce to Simpson. Simpson running it into the key. Up for 2, but it's no good. Retrieved by Crick, back to Grant. Over to Ferdine. Over to Crick. And Roosevelt, up for 2, but it's no good. Gildy tries going up for a 2, but gets defended pretty fiercely there by Tooker. Tooker with a steal on the ball. Ferdine stealing that ball right back there. There for Gildy to go for 2, but it's no good.
In for the Bobcats, number 11, Brianna Parks, and number 25, Madison Rankin.
Grant over to Roosevelt. Over to Grant. Shoots for 3, but it's no good. Roosevelt for 2, but it's also no good. Knocked out of bounds by a Rambler. Thompson to Parks. Back to Thompson. Thompson over to Simpson. Simpson into the key. Foul on the Ramblers.
Second, Bobcat timeout.
Timeout by the Bobcats.
Still have time to get a snack, get some popcorn, you got pizza still? Oh, the pizza's gone. All right. But you can get Gatorade and pop and lots of candy and a friendly smile. So, go get a snack.
It's definitely a fierce game out here, folks. Gotta say, the Varsity is trying to hold their own here. Definitely just like the JV was. Parks in to throw for the Bobcats. Over to Thompson. Thompson trying to pass it over to Simpson. Intercepted by Crick. foul on the Bobcats.
Bobcat foul on number 24, her first, team third.
Ferdine over to Grant. Pass the half over to Ferdine. Over to Roosevelt and Gildy. Shoots for 2, but it's no good. Foul by the Bobcats.
Bobcat foul number 25, her first, team fourth.
Grant over to Roosevelt, who shoots for 2, but it's no good. Foul there from the Bobcat defense, though. Giving Roosevelt
Bobcat foul number 1, her
2
first, team
chances at
fifth.
conversions. First one, no good.
In for Bobcats number 3, Abby Tooker, and number 32, Gwen Rose.
Roosevelt up for a second. No good, right off the back of the rim. Roosevelt trying to take that ball back, but Simpson in with a strong hold. Thompson into Tooker. Defense by Crick and Gildy there. Simpson over to Tooker, who went for 2, but it was no good. Retrieved by Grant. Runs it past the half. Over to Ferdine. Back to Ferdine and then over to Grant. Grant over to Roosevelt. Shoots for 2, and it's good.
Grant basket number 23.
On that all day. Right there.
Roosevelt.
Thompson and Tooker. Thompson over to Tooker. Over to Simpson. Simpson to Rose. Rose goes for 2, but it's no good. Nernger going for 2, but it's not also, but it is good. Simpson going for some conversion. And it's good. Crick rebound onto Grant. Grant passed the halfway over to Ferdine. To Gildy. Gildy to Grant, who shoots for 3. It's no good. Ferdine goes up for 2, but it's also no good. Taken by Tooker. Roosevelt trying to steal it from Simpson there. He was successful on that. Grant over to Ferdine, over to Crick. Crick over to Roosevelt. Goes to Gildy. Gildy goes for 2, but it's no good. Crick for 2, also no good. Taken by Tooker. Unable to get the last few seconds of the clock there.
Ramblers 13, Bobcat 6.
All right, that'll be the end of the first quarter. Going into the second quarter here. Seems the Ramblers are really trying to hold up an offense and a defense really well here. Bobcats as well. Bobcats getting really fierce on their defense here that I'm seeing, or by their hoop. Seems both teams here are really trying to make a good game plan for this next quarter. Definitely anyone's game right now. 13-6 in favor of the Ramblers. All it would take is one conversion and 2 3-points, and it's a tie game right there for the Bobcats and Ramblers. All right, let's play ball. Parks over to Tooker. Tooker defended by Maloney. Took her running all the way into the key. Passed over to Rose, who went for 2, but it was no good. Meringer threw behind, intercepted by Grant, who ran it halfway and over to the key almost. Over to Crick and back to Grant. Over to Isingen now and then to Crick. Roosevelt went for 2, but it's no good. Hauserman over to Tooker. Tooker over to Parks. Parks getting defended there by Isinga. Hauserman. Going for 2, but it rolled up the side of the backboard there. Isinga over to Grant. Grant to Maloney. Back to Grant. Over to Maloney. Over to Crick. Back to Maloney. Over to Roosevelt. Went for 2, but it was blocked by, I believe it was Rose from the Bobcats. Tooker to Parks. Parks back to Tooker. Stolen by Maloney. Taken back by Meringer. Throws it to Hauserman. Up there, able to throw a 2, and it's good. Good play right there by the Bobcats. Grant over to Isinga and then to Crick. Oh, out of bounds by a Bobcat. Grant over to Isinga. Back to Grant. Grant to Maloney. Maloney to Crick. Crick to Rosenfeld. Rosenfeld up for 2, and it's good. Thompson over to Tooker. Back to Thompson. Thompson to Tooker. Foul on the Ramblers. Bobcats ball. Thompson into Meringer, goes up for 2, and it's good. Grant and Roosevelt on the rebound. Over to Maloney and then Crick. Crick back to Grant. Over to Isinga and Maloney. Then to Isinga over to Grant, who shoots for 3, and it's good. All net, swish.
3-point Rambler basket number 5, Peyton Grant.
Thompson and Hauserman.
Back into the back, that's number 24, Lizzie Simpson.
Crick over to Grant. Grant passing halfway. Over to Maloney. Maloney to Crick. Crick back to Grant. Grant with a drive. Over to Roosevelt. Goes up for 2, but it's no good. Thompson now with the ball. Thompson over to Isinga. Intended receiver there would have been Meringer. Now it's to Grant and then Crick. Crick up for 3, but it's no good off the back of the rim. Roosevelt up for 2, also no good.
You got a Bobcat timeout.
Full timeout there by the Bobcats. You can definitely tell here, just in the last couple minutes, that the Bobcats are really trying to strike up their offense. Everyone's definitely making game plans against their offense there. Thompson into Tooker, over to Thompson. ball knocked away by Grant. Over to Simpson, who throws it over to Thompson. Thompson over to Houserman. Houserman to Merringer. Unable to retrieve the pass there, and it goes just out of bounds. Eisinger to Grant. Passing halfway and then passes it over to Maloney, who passes it to Crick. Then to Eisinger. Eisinger up for three. No good, off the back of the rim. Thompson with a fake out over to Houserman. Thompson over to Eisinger. And Maloney up for two, and it's good. Kind of a bit of confusion there.
Number 22, Shannon Maloney.
Thompson passed to Tooker and then back to Thompson, who passes it into Merringer. This dribble, leading the ball to go out of bounds. Tried to be saved by Houserman there, I believe. Or, sorry, that would be Tooker. Quick up for two, but it's no good. Up again, and it's no good. Roosevelt up for two. Just over the rim there. Tooker over to Thompson. Thompson back to Tooker. Over to Thompson. Thompson looking for an opening here. Over Grant, over to Merringer, back to Thompson. Shooting for two, I believe, and it was good, all net. Grant to Maloney, who went to Roosevelt. Foul on the Bobcats. Grant to Roosevelt. Roosevelt to Grant. Grant circling the key into the key there. Over to Eisinger. Back to Grant, who went for three and was no good. Maloney up for two. No good. That Bobcat defense there really just blocking the Ramblers' shots, trying to make layups. Took her over to Thompson. Throws it over. Intended receiver would have been Simpson. Thompson over to Tooker. Tooker being defended by Eisinger. Appears there's a towel now in play. Eisinger over to Grant. Grant over to Eisinger. To Gildy. Gildy back to Grant. Eisinger. Eisinger up for three, but it spins around, swirls around in the rim and goes out. Rosen Thompson. Thompson over to Peel. Back to Thompson. Stolen by Grant. Grant passing the halfway. Then over to Eisinger. A lot of acceleration and velocity there on that ball. Simpson over to Peel. Peel over to Simpson. Simpson to Merringer. Merringer to Thompson. All right, Grant to Ferdine. Grant over to Ferdine. Over to Gildy. And back to Grant, who throws for 3. All net, all day. Peel and Tucker. Tucker over to Peel. Over to Merringer. Goes up for 2. And it's good. Maloney over to Grant. Grant over to Ferdine. Ferdine up for 3. No good off the left corner of the square. Merringer to Simpson. Knocked out of hands by Ferdine.
Bobcat foul number 24, her second team first. Or team third, excuse me.
Grant and Maloney. Maloney over to Gildy. Gildy back to Grant. Grant up for 3, but it's no good. Ferdine up for 2, and it's no good. Merringer over to Tucker. Over to Peel. Over to Merringer. Back to Peel, who goes up for 2. And it's good. Grant to Maloney, back to Grant. Grant to Ferdine, over to Crick. Crick back to Grant. Up for 3, and it's good. All net, all day. Every day. Merringer over to Tucker. Tucker over to Peel. Over to Merringer. Merringer up for 2, but it's no good. Taken by Grant. Grant runs all the way up to the 3-point of their key. Up for 3. All net, all day. Solid end to the second quarter. Going into halftime here, folks. Beautiful game there. Anything's for certain, it's that these girls are skilled, strong, definitely resilient. I would not want to be on the court down there with them, folks. I can tell you that. There would be no chance. Score would be 17-29 in favor of the Ramblers. Bobcats definitely still having the edge here going into the half. All right, folks, I'd just like to go over some score here that was passed to me. Up first would be Chelsea Eisengo with 2 assists and 2 steals. Brecken Gildy with steal. Peyton Grant with 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Ayla Ferdine with 3 rebounds and 1 steal. Caitlin Crick with 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals. Shannon Maloney with a steal, a rebound, and 2 points. And Isabel Roosevelt with 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 6 points. Awesome job here, ladies. Welcome back to Varsity girls basketball against Houghton Lake with the Ramblers of McBain and the Bobcats of Houghton Lake. Chelsea Eisen will be starting us off with the ball. Over to Grant, over to Crick. Crick over to Gildy. Gildy getting defended by the Bobcats. Roosevelt back to Grant, who shoots for three, and it's good. Merringer over to Tooker. Tooker passing halfway. Over to Thompson. And then Simpson. Intercepted by Gildy. Over to Grant. Grant to Crick. Over to Roosevelt. Back to Grant, who goes for three. It's up, but it's no good. Peel over to Tooker. Back to Peel. Peel over to Rose. Being defended by Gildy. Rose went up for two, but it was no good. Gildy to Grant. Grant over to Eisinger. Over to Gildy. Gildy to Grant. Grant to Crick. And then Eisinger. Eisinger goes up for three, but it's no good. Tooker on a take. Heavy defense there by Peyton Grant. Tooker. Looking for an opening. Over to Peel. Peel passes it up to Merringer. Merringer dealing with that defense, goes up for two, but it's no good. Now to Grant, passing the halfway. Taken by Simpson, but the ball on the retrieval there just goes out of bounds, trying to retrieve it too. Eisinger into Grant, go back to Eisinger, then to Gildy, back to Grant, over to Crick, into Roosevelt, then Eisinger, back to Crick, up to Roosevelt, back to Grant, Grant for three. It's no good. Rose driving past the halfway. Back to Tooker. Defense by Eisinger. Over to Peel. Throws it to Merringer. Evading that Rambler defense. Almost getting taken there by the Ramblers. There's very own Brecken Gildy. Peel over to Tooker, over to Merringer. Merringer over to Tooker. Tooker back to Peel. Peel looking for an opening here in their defense. Over to Tooker. And then Simpson finding that opening, up for two. Sorry, not Merringer. Simpson up for two, but it was no good. Finding a hole in the Rambler defense. But she is now up for two possible points here in conversions. First one's good. All net. And it's up. And it's good. From the back to the front and then down to the net. All good. Grant and Eisinger on rebound. Maloney to Gildy. Back to Grant. Over to Eisinger. Up to Maloney, who goes back to Eisinger. Over to Grant. Back to Eisinger. Over to Maloney. Maloney to Grant. Grant for three is up. Bouncing off the lip of the rim there. Simpson and Tooker. Tooker over to Simpson. Simpson back to Peel. Peel up to Merringer. Back to Peel, who runs up for a 2, but is blocked by Peyton Grant. Peyton Grant passing to halfway. Grant to Maloney. Up to Roosevelt, back to Grant. Over to Isingett. Up for 3, but it's no good. Rolls off the back swirl side of the rim there. Rose and Tooker. Pass to Peel and then Merringer. Over to Rose. Back to Peel. Up to Simpson, who goes up for a 2. But it is no good. However, there was a foul on the Ramblers. McBain timeout.
30-second timeout for the Ramblers.
30-second timeout.
That is enough time to get some candy over by Mrs. Williams there.
Ramblers and Bobcats both making some game plans down there. Simpson up for 2. First one's all net. I didn't hear no rim right there. Second one's good. Hits bottom back of the rim and goes right through into the net. Grant and Maloney. Grant over to Maloney. Over to Gildy. Back to Grant. Over to Chelsea. Chelsea up for 3. No good. Over to the right bottom. Roosevelt up for 2, and it's good. Merringer over to Tooker. Tooker passing it halfway over to Peel. Peel up to Tooker, over to Peel. Back to Tooker, over to Peel. Tries to find the opening there to pass it to Rose. Unable to find it though. Hitting it off a Rambler's shoe. Peel over to Tooker. Tooker over to Rose. Rose to Merringer. Merringer tries to pass it back to Peel, but is intercepted by Grant. Grant over to Maloney. Taken by Rose with an interception. Goes up for 2. But is no good. Rose shooting 2 conversions. First one's no good. Setting out Merringer for Rankin. Crick in for Roosevelt. Second one good.
And for Bobcats number 5, Laura Edge outside.
Over to Grant. Grant pointing some direction. Over to Chelsea Isingett. Over to Grant, back to Isingett. Goes up for a 3, and it's good. All net. All day and night.
Round basket number 2, Chelsea Isingett.
Thompson and Tooker. Thompson back to Tooker.
Second Bobcat timeout.
30 seconds Bobcat timeout, as you heard right there. I would just like to say this snack time is brought to you by Little Town Jerky. Let's see this fire burn. Thompson over to Tucker. Tucker back to Thompson. Over to Simpson. Trying to find an opening behind the Rambler defense, but could not find it. Simpson up for 2. First one's good. Back and forth, down in the hole. First conversion, good. Second one also good. Front to backboard, back of rim, down the basket. Grant over to Isinga, over to Crick, over to Gildy, over to Isinga, then Grant. Grant up for 3. Swirls around the rim, but no good. Meringer over to Tucker, over to Thompson. Thompson passing the halfway point here. Then over to Tucker, back to Thompson, then to Rankin, then Meringer, and back to Rankin. Goes up for 2, but it's no good. Simpson up for 2, but no good. Verdeen over to Grant. Grant to Verdeen, who passes it to Kate, back to Verdeen, over to Grant, over to Verdeen, over to Maloney, back to Grant, over to Maloney, to Verdeen, then Grant, and then up to Craig. Sorry, this is Gildy to Verdeen, over to Grant, over to Verdeen, and then Maloney, then Gildy, over to Grant, over to Verdeen, back to Grant, and then who went up for 3.
Number 5, Peyton Grant.
A lot of names there. Tucker, and then Thompson. Back to Thompson. Over to Rankin, who goes and throws it over to Tucker. Tucker up for 2, but it's no good. Maloney and Grant. Getting rushed full court here by the Bobcats. Thompson over to Simpson, over to Thompson, over to Tucker, back to Rose. Rose up to Meringer, but it's intercepted by Crick, over to Gildy. Gildy to Grant. Grant up to Crick. Over to Gildy. Swat to Verdeen. And then to Grant, who goes for 3, but it's no good. Maloney up for 2, and it's good. Thompson to Tucker. Back to Thompson. Passing the halfway there. Thompson over to Meringer. Back to Thompson. Over to Simpson. Simpson back to Rose. Went up for 3, but it was good. Sadly, it does not count. That would be the end of the third quarter here. 42-24 are in favor of the Ramblers. Both teams here are trying to make strategic plans. Ramblers definitely trying to look like they're going more for a defense here. an offense when they can. Well, the Bobcats look like they're making a game plan to be more offensive. As you can see in the last few minutes of that last quarter there, they were full court rushing Ramblers from a rebound. Definitely going to shape up to be a good quarter here. All right. Everyone's back in the court. Let's play ball. Thompson over to Tucker, back to Thompson. Thompson into Muringer, almost intercepted by Isinga. Stolen by Ferdine. Back stolen by Simpson. Went up for two, but it was no good. Foul from the Ramblers. Bobcats up for two. Simpson's first, and it's good. Right down the bucket. Second one's good too. Awesome job there, Simpson. Isinga over to Grant, up to Crick, and then to Ferdine, who are rushing that ball. Stolen by Muringer. Full court drive there. Travel there by Muringer on a full court. Isinga up to Grant, over to Ferdine, back to Grant, over to Crick. Crick back to Grant, over to Isinga, then to Grant, into Ferdine, into Grant, and Isinga, up to Crick. Crick up for two, but it's no good. An unsuccessful hold there by the Bobcats, trying to steal the ball. Grant to throw in. Over to Roosevelt, up for two, but it's no good. Taken by Rose, who runs it up the court. Back to Tucker, over to Thompson. Thompson over to Rose. Rose up for three, but it was no good. Crick over to Grant. Grant getting pressed by Tucker a little bit. Over to Ferdine, back to Grant. Grant to Roosevelt. Over to Isinga. Over to Grant. Grant to Roosevelt. Roosevelt over to Isinga. Over to Grant. Grant to Roosevelt, who goes up for two, but it's no good. Foul there on the Bobcat defense. Roosevelt up for two, I believe. First one's good. Roosevelt up for a second. Up for two, and it's good. Smooth operator under pressure there, Roosevelt. Thompson over to Simpson, sorry. Back to Thompson. Thompson going full court. Over to Simpson. Simpson passes it back to Parker. Parks, sorry. Simpson. Over to Thompson. Thompson to Simpson. Over to Thompson, who shoots for three, and it's no good. Grant. Grant to Roosevelt. Over to Isinga. And then Grant. Then Roosevelt. Up for two, and it's good. Hauserman to Thompson. Thompson passing halfway. Over to Rankin. Back to Thompson. Over to Parks. then to Simpson. Simpson to Thompson. Thompson to Rankin. Back to Thompson. Or to Simpson. He rushes for a 2, but it's no good. Simpson up for 2. First one's good. Second one's no good. I am a little bit unsure what happened. I believe a timeout was going to be called on the Ramblers. Thompson up for 1. And it's good, right down into the net. Thompson over to Parks. Parks to Thompson. Thompson into the key now. Up to Rankin. Back to Thompson. Thompson up for 2, but it's no good. Hauserman up for 2, but it's no good. Like I said earlier, folks, these girls, they're tough. Not people you would want to ever mess with.
Rambler full timeout.
They are fierce and truly terrifying. Which makes for a totally amazing game of basketball. Eisinger over to Grant. Over to Crick, over to Fredine. Fredine back to Grant. Over to Roosevelt. Knocked out of hand by Rose, but was retrieved by Eisinger. And then Grant over to Roosevelt. Back to Grant, over to over to Eisinger, who went for 3, and it's no good. Tooker over to Thompson. And Simpson. Simpson was up for 3, I believe, but it was no good. Eisinger over to Grant. Over to Fredine, and then Crick went to Roosevelt, who was up for 2, but it was no good. Tucker and Thompson taking the ball in. Over to Tucker. Pass to Rose and then Muringer. Faking out the Ramblers. Rose and then Thompson and Tucker. And then over to Simpson on the other side. Thompson going for three. But it's no good. High bounce. Tucker went for two, but it was no good. Fight for the ball. Bobcat success on the fight. Thompson over to Muringer, who shoots for two, I believe. And it was good. Grant to Ferdine. Ferdine up to Roosevelt. Goes for two, but it's no good. Tucker now with possession. Over to Thompson. Thompson over to Simpson. Simpson getting blocked by Roosevelt and Maloney as defenders there for the Ramblers. Grant over to Maloney. Over to Grant. Shot for a three, but it was no good. Bobcat number one, Muringer, the hold. It was unsuccessful, and now it's Rambler ball. Grant to Ferdine. Ferdine to Grant. Foul by the Bobcats. Ferdine over to Grant. Into Maloney. Maloney back to Grant. Up to Roosevelt. Then to Ferdine over to Maloney. Back to Grant. Over to Ferdine. Over to Maloney. Back to Grant. Roosevelt. Back to Grant. Ferdine and then Crick. Rambler's looking for an opening. Crick was up for three, but it was no good. Kate Crick shooting three, I believe. First one's great. Right down into the bucket. Second one is clean, all net, all day, from the free throw line. Last conversion here. Ball's up, but does not go in. Muringer over to Peel, then Thompson, back to Tucker. Tucker up to Thompson. Thompson looking for an opening. Back to Tucker. Tried passing it to Muringer, but Maloney with a swat over to Grant. And then Ferdine. And then Grant. Over to Maloney and back to Grant and Ferdine, and then Roosevelt. And then Grant shooting for three. And it's clean. All net. Tucker and Peel. Peel over to Muringer. Intercepted by Maloney. Ball goes back to Grant. He passes it to Ferdine, back to Grant. And then Maloney to Roosevelt, to Ferdine, to Grant, back to Ferdine. Over to Roosevelt, to Crick, and Maloney. And Grant, and then Ferdine, and Grant, Ferdine. Back to Grant. Up to Crick, to Roosevelt, to Maloney. Seems the Ramblers are just playing a little bit of their time here. Over to Maloney, back to Grant, over to Maloney. Over to Crick, and then for Dean, then Grant. Grant up to Crick. Over to Roosevelt. Back to Roosevelt and Maloney. Over to Grant. Over to Ferdine. And then Crick and Grant. And Ferdine and Grant and Crick. Back to Ferdine. Back to Grant. Back to Ferdine. Back to Grant. Up to Crick. And that will be game. Ramblers playing time there at the end.
Hey, it's cold out there, and please run home.
It's good to see the sportsmanship here at the end, and it was a great game.
Okay, it's not that cold out according to my weather advisor.
All right. I'd just like to thank everyone for watching the game tonight, right, of our varsity girls basketball with the Ramblers of McBain against the Bobcats of Houghton Lake. I will be going over score here real quick. The score was 51-30 in favor of the Ramblers. Good job, Ramblers. And now for some score. Chelsea Isinga with 2 assists and 2 steals. Brecken Gildy with 3 rebounds, 1 assist and 1 steal. Peyton Grant ending the night with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Ayla Verdine ending off with 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Caitlin Crick ending with 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals by the end of the night. Shannon Maloney with 3 rebounds and 3 steals. Isabel Roosevelt with 6 rebounds and 2 assists and 1 steal. It was a great game tonight, folks, and we'll see you here next time on the Rambler Review. Thank you and have a good night.